Life's good. Week 2. Um, we did some good things last week. Of course, with the first game, you don't really know where you are until you play that first game. And history has kind of told me that that big improvements happen from week 1 to 2. We'll need to do that playing a good Cleveland Brown team. Just talking about them offensively, stars at every position seem like be a big challenge for us. When you're building a program like we're doing right now and coming back up, it's good to see how you match up against one of the best teams, in our division or in our conference as much as anything. Take a question.
Yeah, whenever you see the kind of balanced offense they have, the run game that they have, what challenge do they present?
Well, whenever you don't want to be an offense that's one-dimensional, that can only run it or pass it. When you have balance, it keeps the defense, makes you play them honestly. Most defense, you start off trying to stop the run, and they have 2 excellent running backs, real good offensive line, 3 good tight ends, and there's a commitment though. When you say you're a running football team, is there a commitment to running the football? We offensively have a commitment to running the football. Cleveland definitely has a commitment to running the football.
What have you seen as far as the way that they incorporated that balance, or I guess the development of Baker Mayfield as a passer?
Well, I think in order to be balanced, you have to be able to do them both. I'm talking do them both well. I talk about how they run the football, but have excellent receivers. I assume, I don't know if Odell is playing or not, but even without him, they have excellent receivers. I mentioned the tight ends. Tight ends not only good blockers, but they're a big part of the passing game too. So, it's that.
So you talked about the tight ends. Can you specifically talk about Njoku and how he's able to stretch the field like that?
Well, he's a good player, but I think all of them, can stretch the field. All of them can block. That's when it's tough when you're playing tight ends. That just like we're talking about having balance on the, as an offense, when you have balance as a tight end, and I'm talking about being able to block and also whether it's spreading out. They like their tight ends so much. Sometimes they don't go 3 receivers; they keep both tight ends, and that really causes problems when you can do that. But again, it'd be a challenge. But we like our matchups too, though.
Lovie, what do you think about you guys? I was just going to say, what did you think about you guys' pass coverage in week 1? I wanted to ask specifically about Zach Cunningham. How do you feel like he's progressing in coverage, and then I guess from every level, the linebacker, safeties, and the corners, and how they handle the zone coverage and things like that?
Well, I think when you talk about zone coverage, you have to talk about the front first, and that's making the ball, come out on time. I thought we got pretty good pressure throughout, which as far as the coverage part, the back 7, Zach, Christian, Kirksey, Camus, all, we rely on our linebackers. We have athletes we feel like that need to be able to be comfortable in space. So we like what they were able to do. Corner-wise, when you get a lead, you can play a lot more zone, and which leads to opportunities, to intercept the ball. For Vernon Hargraves to get on the board, Christian Kirksey to get on the board, Justin Reed to get on the board as far as getting picks is big. But again, first game, we saw some things, but we left an awful lot on the field.
You're talking about the tight ends and how they run the ball too. In what unique ways does it present a challenge to try and get pressure on Mayfield whenever they have all those options?
I don't know if I say unique ways. It's, first, second down, it opens up a play-action game along with the run, which keeps you off balance a little bit. Besides that, I think it's a traditional offense that believes in, mixing the run and the pass up together. And that in itself, to me, makes you play all things, all downs. And that's what's really hard about what they do. And it would be one thing if it was a traditional offense that just lined up in one formation and played it. But, there's some type of movement every play. And so you have to be sound first and not let them get you off balance before the ball is snapped.
Cleveland is one of the most aggressive teams on fourth down. How does that impact you as a defensive play caller in terms of just kind of knowing that they might have extra chances?
Well, it's just that. It doesn't affect, where you play every down, first, second, and third based on what that down says. But knowing that they do go for it, you just have to have your fourth down package set up. And we have our fourth down package set up. We talk about a balanced offense. It's all of those things that make you, cover the entire football field and, of course, all downs too.
Lovie, after putting so much emphasis on takeaways basically since the moment you got here, how happy are you to be able to see your team leading the NFL in interceptions after 1 week?
Well, that's I'm not going to belittle it. When we had 3 all last year and we have 3 after 1 game, you have to acknowledge that. But we have put an emphasis on it. It's a part of what we have to do to have success defensively. So that part is good. As a coach, you start looking at what other opportunities that you have. We haven't played our best game, so we'll need to be able to do that. In order for takeaways to come, you have to do other things right, though. You have to get in positions where you can intercept the ball. We had a lot of favorable third down situations last week. In order for that to happen, you have to take care of the run on first and second down. It all goes together. And again, I can't wait to see if we can have that normal first and second game growth.
Hey, Lovie, look at the team in terms of tackling, technique, and getting guys down. One of the games last year that gave them some problems was the Cleveland game in some bad weather. You look back at that game and just where you are now as a defense, how do you feel about the tackling, in particular, Justin Reed?
Well, I'm a guy that never lives in the past. I can't tell you a lot about old girlfriends, anything like that. It's just, so I'm just going on what we're doing right now. The team has tackled pretty good. We have, and we expect to tackle well again. We'll need to. When you talk about, 2 great running backs like they have, you got to be able to get bodies there. First, running to the ball. Pursuit comes into it. As many people as possible to the ball and wrap up on them. You just look last week. The team that they played a good football team last week, and Kansas City didn't really stop them. So that's the challenge we have in hand.
Just real quick to know you didn't want to talk about the past, but just Sunday, Vincent Taylor obviously got hurt. How well was he playing?
Oh, I like talking about good things that happened in the past.
Well, how good was he playing up until that point when he got hurt? And I also wanted to ask you about some of the younger players on the inside, in Ross and Roy Lopez. What did you think of how they played?
Vincent Taylor was playing very good football. He's a force inside at our nose guard position, especially against the run. But as you mentioned, Roy Lopez is, since he got here, really, he's caught our eyes, made plays throughout, not just as a run defender, but as a, giving us inside presence too, rushing the passer. And Rawls, like same thing. He and Malik Collins, you have to throw him in there too. We have a little bit of depth. We really liked it with Vince. And when you have an injury like that, it can really knock you back, take a step back. But Jaleel Johnson played good football for us. It was a tough decision on who we even kept. So for him to be able to come back, we'll need all hands on deck, defensive line-wise. You saw, we said that everybody we dressed, we're going to play. All the guys played last week, and we'll need 8+ guys, defensive linemen, to be able to hold down the run and get a pass rush this week too.
What would you guys play better than you did against the Jaguars?
Well, there were first, Johnson, big third down. We gave up a third and 18. We gave up a fourth and 11. And the obvious is we gave up 3 touchdown passes. 3 touchdown passes that just don't feel like we were in the perfect position to play those. It's one thing where they go up and just make a great catch, a great play. I don't feel like that was the case with those 3 touchdown passes that we gave up. I think to a man, most of the defensive guys will say that.
Lovie, you guys played zone at the second highest rate in the league in week 1. I know you played with a big lead, like you mentioned, but in an ideal world, is week to week, is that kind of the sort of distribution you want to have between
God, I can't hardly talk on that, can I? You think I can talk on that a little bit? Yeah, well, this is up to me. I can't talk on that, on what we're going to do game plan-wise. But what you said to start, Dan, to, your question, we had a big lead. We had a big lead. There's a good chance. If we have a big lead, there's a good chance we're going to play more zone than man. I will say that.
Coach, what did you see from Whitney Mercer? This is the first time he had his hand in the dirt since he's been here.
Well, I think it comes back to you pretty quick, though. I think that's a natural place. We ask, the one thing we want our defensive linemen to do is get off on the ball. Whenever I've been to a lot of workouts, you ask a guy to run a 10-yard sprint, 20, 40-yard. I've never seen one in a 2-point stance doing that. They get down to 3-point. So that means you can get off better, with your hand in the dirt, hand on the turf, whatever you want to say. Whitney's done it before. He's comfortable doing it. You're not going to see our guys standing up very often. They're going to probably be down.
Lovie, you think these past couple of years, I'm not sure how far back you look into the tape of a quarterback, but it seems like Baker, his progression in his career has gotten a lot more accurate. I mean, what have you seen in him that makes him a more difficult quarterback at this point to rattle?
As far as how far we go back, not real far. I mean, I kind of go on. This is who a player is. We talk about what has happened here in the past. Don't go off it a lot. Same thing with players. They have a history, and I know Baker's history, He's been a playmaker all his life, and I don't know what all happened early in his career, but I know right now he's one of the better quarterbacks, playing in our league, and that's what the challenge we have.
Did Charles Minnie stand out to you on film at all in the game that you had?
All the guys did some good things, and there's a reason why, he's in the road. He's one of our guys. He is excellent against the run. As a 6 technique, he's going to be stronger, stouter versus most of the tight ends he's going to play against, and he can rush the passer too. We like his flexibility. Decent start. Anxious to see the guys take another step this week.
Yes, he's as disruptive as ever. From the moment he got here, he was a guy you had to know where he was every single snap, or he has the ability to wreck every play. So, that hasn't changed. It didn't change last year when he was at Tennessee. We didn't see him when he was out in Seattle, but getting ready for him this past 2 seasons brings back a lot of memories of him on the field, and you still see the playmaking ability that he has. He's still sudden. He's still strong. He's still explosive. So, he's a guy we're going to have to take care of here if we're going to have a good game on Sunday.
About him and Garrett, those 2 teams.
Yeah, no, they're both very talented. They have similar traits. The fact that they're both really, really long, play with good length. They have really good explosion and athleticism. Playing styles are a little bit different, but they're both, very dangerous off the edge.
Tim, you obviously have a new quarterback, and at least in week 1, plays like a more heavier personnel than you did last season. Does it feel like for Brandon, like you're building off of stuff from a year ago, or it's his second year in the system, or does it feel more like you're kind of like starting from scratch, even with guys who were on this team last season?
Probably a little bit of both. Obviously there's going to be some carryover with the system, but with the personnel turnover and really with this offense from week to week, no game plan is going to look exactly the same. So our philosophy hasn't changed in terms of how we're going to try to find different ways to get favorable matchups and find ways to get our playmakers the ball.
What has that process been like with him specifically in terms of just kind of identifying ways that he can be of value to this team as the personnel evolve?
Sure. Obviously I think both of us are more familiar with, he kind of has a feel for how we call games here, and we have a really good feel for what he brings to the table and the things he really excels at. So, again, just continue to find different ways to take advantage of his skill set, and as we continue to grow here, hopefully we can keep putting up good numbers.
Coach, a lot is being made about Clowney and Garrett this week. Can you also talk about linebacker Anthony Walker, who was pretty familiar playing against this team this time with the Colts?
Yeah, very instinctive, smart player. He's able to run. He makes a lot of plays, but the one thing that jumps off the tape is really how instinctive he is as a football player, and same thing goes back to last year when he was with Indy. So he's a guy, again, that their defensive unit is littered with guys you got to take care of on every down. He's got good playmaking ability, and again, his instincts and awareness really put him in a position to come and make plays.
What do you think about what Ingram has brought to your offense, and could you describe his personality as far as your interactions with him?
Yeah, he, Mark's a fiery dude. He's brought an edge here in the offensive room that I'm not sure we've had for a while. He's a physical runner. He's a great leader. He comes to work every day and prepares and takes care of his body, and he's everything you want, as a person from that standpoint. And then when he straps it on, he's got an edge to him. And again, I think that's contagious with the type of person he is and the way he goes about his business.
You were throughout the way you were talking about how you be creative throughout your personnel groupings, and that on Sunday. How did you feel like it opened up things throughout that game? Do you think there's still more through that?
Sure. I think every week, again, like, you're going to look to try to find different ways to mix and match and to find a way to keep people on their toes, and then if you feel like you found something that's working, to hammer it. I think we're going to continue to try to mix and match it, and again, figure out what's going to give us the best chance to score as many points as necessary to win the game.
On Sunday, did you feel like on Sunday?
Rhythm with Tyrod in terms of you guys, the communication that you had all offseason, but this is the first regular season.
Yeah, I thought the communication, the operation was good. Again, he's seen so much. He's so experienced. So nothing really makes him blink, and that's kind of the type of person he is too. Very, very even keeled. So I thought the operation and the communication with Tyrod was really good.
On Sunday, did you feel like after the 3 and out, that first drive, that was the run that basically set you guys up to take some of those deep shots downfield that was successful to Brandon, and I think one to Farrell too as well?
Yeah, I think anytime you're able to run the ball, it opens up the ability to put the defense in conflict, and I think we had some success running it, and I think that was able to translate in us being able to get over the top.
I mean, Cooks gets, he's jumping over defenders. Farrell makes a one-handed catch. I mean, being able to win in situations where you jump on, how much does that play into how you call a game?
Yeah, it really comes down to the guys that you're asking to go out there and execute. For us on this past Sunday, Brandon made 2 really big contested catches. The one on the 3rd down that set us up for our first score, I think, was huge. He went up and basically wrestled it away and played really big there. And then Farrell, again, was able to use his, first of all, Tyrod gave him a great ball, bought enough time there on the blitz zero. And Farrell was able to adjust to it and make a great play on it. So it really comes down to those guys being able to go out and make plays. We'd love to sit here and tell you that that's exactly how we drew those plays up, but you and I both know that's not the case. It was those guys went out there and did a really good job of taking advantage of those opportunities.
Coach, what about game plan against John Johnson and Denzel Ward?
Yeah, both obviously haven't played Denzel last year. He's got really good speed. He's really good at the catch point. He's got good length, but he's got really good ball skills. He's just got a knack for getting the ball, knocking the ball out, playing through the basket. So he's they're playing him predominantly to the boundary. As a boundary corner, he's as good as we've seen. And then with Johnson in the middle of the field, again, a guy who's got good range. He's a good tackler. He makes every play that comes his way. Very rarely do you see him, miss an opportunity to miss a tackle or be misaligned. He's very reliable and does a really good job kind of running the show for him there in the back end.
Danny Amendola's presence since he got here, and obviously his impact on the game. How does that affect your play calling, knowing that you got a guy that's reliable as he is and experienced as he is in the system as well?
Yeah, and anytime you got guys out there that you trust, it makes you feel a whole lot better. So he came in here, learned really quick, really kind of learned a handful of plays. Obviously, his familiarity with the system helped, but he had a little package that he mastered, and again, similar to those other guys, he was able to go out there and make a couple plays for us that caught a first down, ended up catching a touchdown at the end of the half. He like Brandon, like Farrell, like all those guys on Sunday. When the ball found him, he made the play.
What do you think Tyrod is working in the pocket, maybe creating situations where he might be bringing more pressure on them, and in certain situations, call it saying he's much better than he was in Buffalo. Like, how are y'all working with him there?
Yeah, just continuing to talk to him and him and I, and Pep, and having conversations about how we see the intent of the plays and what exactly we're trying to get when we call a certain play. A lot of times, with that, everybody's on the same page with what we're expecting and what needs to happen. And I think he's doing a good job here for us of operating within the system and doing what we're asking him to do.
Tim, you
Tim,
worked under Bill for
you touched on this before, but what is your overall philosophy on load management? I don't think you plan on running Mark 30 times a game and that type of thing. What is your overall philosophy?
Yeah, load management seems to be a popular term since the NBA, right? Yeah, I mean, again, you go into a game with a plan and you have an idea as to what plays you want guys to run, but when you get going and you figure out what type of game it is, at least from what happened on Sunday, Mark had the hot hand. He was running hard. He was finishing runs. He was dragging defenders. So when that happens, it's kind of like, okay, well, this is the type of game. This is what's going to end up, giving us the best chance to win. And you kind of ride the hot hand a little bit. Again, like in week 2, I don't know if load management really comes into play. I think that's probably going to be a little bit more prevalent here once we get into November and December. But yeah, for me at that position especially, it's riding the hot hand.
Tim, you worked under Bill for your first 20 or so games as offensive coordinator. Would you say that what we saw in week 1 is more reflective of your personal philosophy on offense, or is it a matter of just kind of adapting to the personality?
I think it's kind of adapting to the personnel. I mean, my whole experience on the offensive side of the ball before this season was with Coach O'Brien. So everything that I learned in terms of philosophy and how to attack a defense or how to view a defense, I learned from him, and I was fortunate to do so. So, any tricks or anything you saw the other day was, something that I learned from him. And like I said, I was very fortunate for the opportunity to learn from him.
Yeah, it's exciting to see him back out there and work with him after coming back from a few weeks of not practicing with us. So he's excited to kind of really get our return game going for us. We had a nice little opportunity there last week. Of course, the yards didn't generate, and we're going to continue to build on that. And every single week, you're going to get new opponents, new matchups, new holdups, et cetera. And we're going to continue to try and take advantage of his skill sets.
Do you sense a depth of knowledge when you watch him in the return game?
Oh yeah, no, look, he's got more experience than most, and his input's invaluable. So we're going to take that, on a weekly basis.
Frank, how important is it for a return guy to get practice time, considering how much time Roberts has missed, but he's got all that experience?
Sure, but at the end of the day, everybody's trying to sharpen their skill set and their tools. And just because you're not necessarily repping a full one at some point during training camp, say when he was limited, then catching jugs, always working extra with his hands, defending against certain types of punters. We're giving them those looks after practice or whatnot. So we're trying to make sure everybody's prepared for their roles on Sundays.
Y'all carry 5 running backs on the roster. Obviously, I think I saw Philip Lindsay out there on special teams. But how do you guys determine which of the plentiful number of running backs that y'all have that's going to fill that role?
It's not just running backs. It's a great question, but it's not just running backs. It starts with this. We're all football players, and whatever we have to do on a weekly basis to win that down, that play, if we have to ask somebody to come in and do that, if you remember in the old NFL return rules, there was offensive linemen in the back 3 all the time. So, it's football player first, whoever is back there, Philip Lindsay, David Johnson, Mark Ingram, it doesn't matter. Anybody's willing to help out to win on that down, that roll per game plan.
Yeah, Frank, Dave Cully talked to us in the training camp about how he might be more aggressive sometimes in 4th and short situations. I think yards 4th and 2, you've got a guy like Cam Johnson who can pin you off. The other team within the 10. How do you guys, you and David, talk from the side about having a weapon like him who can pin there, but also being aggressive in certain situations? How do y'all talk about it?
Yeah, when you're working at anything throughout the game, there's a chess match throughout the entire, it's a complementary football, all 3 phases of offense, defense, and special teams. And whatever things you have to your disposal on a weekly basis, but also what we're trying to go up against and what's defending against us, we'll make those decisions in game for sure.
Frank, there was a time when punters would outkick their coverage. It seems like Johnston's very unselfish when it comes to 35-yarder with no return. How do you feel about his direction, his hang time, because he had a 44 net?
Sure, the situation in the game calls for a certain type of punt, and he's going to go out there and hit it to the best of his ability. One thing about Cam Johnson, if you guys have interviewed him, this guy's full of energy, and he's such a good person, but humility is part of his game. So, whatever we're asking him to do, yes, sir, we'll do the best whatever you're asking me to do, let's go. Whatever's best for the team, and, individual punt, because we've seen when he can launch the ball. So, whatever we're asking him to do, he's willing to do the best of his kicks there. So.
How much emphasis do you use through special teams to kind of maybe be a catalyst in the culture y'all are trying to found on the team?
Yeah, if you're going to be a young guy in the NFL, your shot is to make it through. This is a truly developmental engine of good football teams. Start and cutting your teeth, in the kicking game, and as you develop, the longer you stick around, maybe you become a starting receiver, et cetera, whatever it may be, whatever position you are. But if you're asking me personally as a special teams coach, yeah, toughness, playing fast, playing physical, playing aggressive, those things help in culture, and hopefully we're a representation of that for the Texans in general, yes.
Is it fair to say that along the lines of what you're saying, that helps develop the younger players? There's a lot of talk about this being an older team. Is it fair to say that helps some of the younger players develop into the players that y'all ultimately want them to be?
Of course, yeah. I think it's a good question. I think that if you're ever able to play in the kicking game, you understand space, you understand leverage, et cetera. So just because it's a younger guy developing an offensive or defensive role in our phases here, doesn't mean older guys can't do it as well, because of it takes an understanding and experience in itself to be able to kind of feel those things out and play at those, play with leverage, having those instincts, reading the returns early, getting outside the football, et cetera.
Frank, Cleveland's supposed to be nice weather, but it can change overnight.
Oh, yeah.
What kind of advantage is it for Johnston to punt it in Philadelphia all these years?
Yeah. If you're going to be a specialist, you want to play in the AFC South. You get to play multiple domes, good weather. Nashville's not so far north. I grew up there and in Northeast Ohio, and I know how fast it can change. And having experience in that, ball handling, practicing through the winds, those are important things that will hopefully benefit him and anybody that goes to play in any of those northern cities when, especially as the season continues on and gets into the later months of the year. But we're going to play the game to whatever the direction of the wind is and make sure we know, have a good beat for that going into pregame.
So with that, when the schedule comes out or when y'all are looking ahead.
I know what you're going to ask. Specialists are going to check. They're going to start at 17 and work backwards and see where they're playing. That's their nature of those guys. Yes, sir. So.
All set, guys?
Just real quick, Frank, having played with John Carroll, this is home game for you, homecoming game, but for a lot of guys that played for the Browns, it seems like throughout your roster, especially a lot of special teams guys, there's a lot of links there.
Yep. There's a lot of connections, and especially my phone and all my family members and everybody that's texting me, and all my John Carroll buddies. Yeah. It's my first Browns game ever was with Mike DeCillo Monday Night Football, and he took me over to my first NFL game. So it'll be a treat to get to a place that I'm from personally. But then the guys on our roster, they played there, and at the end of the day, this is week 2 of the NFL. We've got to make a big jump. We've got to perform every individual week and prove ourselves on that individual play. So it's a great opportunity for us as a special teams unit to continue to grow.
I was just going to ask if there was anything else that we hadn't covered that stood out to you about the unit from the game, whether it was positive or negative, just as a coach.
Yep. No, I mean, I think every week you're trying to build. There's going to be things on wins and things on losses that you're gonna try and pull that information out from and out of and grow from. So it doesn't matter whether we made the extra point, missed the extra point. You're going to grow from that rep. Doesn't matter we returned it for a touchdown or got it stopped. Right, we're going to grow from that rep. So every week, that's what we're going to do. We're going to reset and focus on what we can do the next rep.